My girlfriend constantly humiliated me in front of her friends, so I left her with the $8,000 bill. You ever hear someone laugh at you in a way that doesn't sound like laughter? Like it wasn't about a joke, but more of a dismissal, a little public reminder that you're the weakest link in the room? That was Kayla's laugh, and it echoed in my ears more than her "I love you" ever did. Kayla had a way of making me feel small. Not all at once. Not in some grand, villainous way. No, she chipped away at me slowly. Like water on stone. One joke at a time. One comment at dinner. One glance across the room when I said something that didn't land. And every single time, her friends were there to see it. They loved it. They'd play along, like she was the lead in some mean girl comedy, and I was just the awkward extra. "Oh my God, you actually let him decorate the bedroom," her friend Melanie said once. Kayla just smirked and added, "Only the parts one can redo later." Laughter. All around the table. Me, trying to smile with a mouth that tasted like metal. I let it go. I always let it go. Because when it was just us, when it was late and quiet and no one else was watching, she'd rest her head on my chest and tell me I was everything. That she couldn't believe how lucky she was. That I made her feel safe. So I swallowed the moments that hurt. Told myself she didn't mean it. That it was just a joke. That maybe I was being sensitive. Until it stopped being isolated. Until it became a pattern. And then a performance. She loved to put on a show. The dinners with her friends became routine. Her ordering wine like she was hosting a reality show. Me reaching for the check because she'd always left her wallet in the car or forgot. I never minded paying, at first. But then it became expected. Like I was her sponsor. One night, I made a simple joke about her being late. I said it softly, playfully. Just a little jab. Her face shifted. "Well, maybe if you made more money, I wouldn't have to work so late." The table went silent. Someone let out an uncomfortable laugh. I felt like I had just been slapped in front of a crowd. Afterward, she said, "You know I didn't mean it like that. Don't be so sensitive." That phrase became her shield. Her ticket out of accountability. But then came the night that changed everything. Kayla planned a weekend away. She said it was a little escape from the stress. She picked a coastal Airbnb, invited her friends, and told me she'd handle the logistics if I just covered the cost. I trusted her. She booked it all under my card. Said it was easier that way. The Airbnb, the van rental, the groceries. Everything. By the time we pulled into the driveway of that modern house with ocean views, the bill was already pushing $6,500. Then came the spa bookings, a private chef, charcuterie workshops, stuff I didn't even know we needed. She added it all like she was shopping for a wedding. I pulled her aside. "Kayla, this is a lot." She rolled her eyes. "Babe, stop. You always stress over money. It's just a weekend. You'll survive." The first night, she toasted me in front of everyone. "To Brian," she said, raising her glass, "who makes all of this possible, even if he does dress like a camp counselor." Laughter. And that was it. I didn't laugh. I didn't even smile. I just looked at her, then looked at everyone else, and realized this wasn't a vacation. It was a live sacrifice. I was footing the bill for a show where I played the fool. I didn't say anything that night, but I made a plan. And when I finally walked away, I made sure she felt every single cent of it. The morning after that humiliating toast, I woke up before anyone else. The house was still. The kind of quiet you only get near the ocean. Gentle waves brushing the shore, gulls crying somewhere in the distance. But inside me, there was nothing calm about it. I slipped out of bed, careful not to wake Kayla. She looked peaceful, tangled in the linen sheets like the chaos of the night before had never happened. Like her words didn't carve into me the way they did. I stared at her for a second, wondering how much of the woman I fell in love with was still in there. Then I stepped outside onto the deck with my phone and my wallet, and I started making calls. The Airbnb was booked under my name. The card was mine. So was the rental van. And as it turned out, everything else was too. The private chef hadn't been fully paid yet, just a deposit. Same with the spa day and the charcuterie workshop. All of it was set to be charged to me on the final day. So I canceled every single thing that hadn't happened yet. The chef sounded surprised, but understanding. The spa manager was annoyed, but professional. When I called the workshop coordinator, she actually laughed and said, "Honestly, this happens more often than you'd think." I left the Airbnb as is. We still had 2 nights there, and I didn't want to ruin everyone's weekend outright. I wasn't out for revenge, not yet. I just wanted to stop bleeding money for people who saw me as a walking, talking Amex card. When I got back inside, Kayla was up, sipping coffee at the kitchen island in one of my hoodies. She smiled at me. That same smile that used to make me melt. "Morning, babe," she said. "Sleep okay?" I nodded. "Yeah, just needed some air." She walked over, wrapped her arms around me, kissed my neck. It almost worked. Almost. But I couldn't forget the way she held up that wine glass. The way she made my generosity the punchline of a joke. Her friends trickled in, still in pajamas, talking about brunch plans and which spa package they wanted to book. I listened, waited, then dropped the hammer. "Hey guys," I said, voice calm. "Small change of plans. The spa day's off. Chef too. And the workshop. I canceled everything this morning." Dead silence. Melanie blinked. "Wait. What? Why?" "We were going way over budget. It didn't feel right." Kayla turned to me slowly. "You did what? Without talking to me?" I met her eyes. I thought about it all night. Decided I was done paying for things I didn't agree to. Her face flushed. "Brian, this weekend was important to me. To us. You just made me look ridiculous in front of everyone." I smiled slightly. "Guess we're even then." The rest of the morning was awkward as hell. Kayla sulked. Her friends whispered. I just sat out on the deck, drinking coffee and watching the tide roll in, while they scrambled to salvage what was left of their luxury getaway. What none of them knew yet, what I hadn't told Kayla, was that the card she used for every booking, I reported it lost right after the cancellations. So when the Airbnb balance processed later that day, it bounced. I could already see the storm brewing. And for once, I was ready for it. That evening, after a long and uncomfortable silence had wrapped itself around the entire house, I found Kayla out on the balcony. She was sitting cross-legged on a wicker chair, scrolling through her phone like she was trying to distract herself from reality. I stepped out with a beer and leaned on the railing beside her. "You want to talk about it?" I asked. She didn't look up. "There's nothing to talk about, Brian. You embarrassed me." I exhaled slowly. "You embarrassed me for months. I just stopped pretending it was okay." She finally looked at me, her face tight, controlled. "You think I humiliate you? Are you serious right now? I hype you up to everyone." "Kayla, you mock me. To my face. In front of your friends. You call it banter, but it's not. You tear me down and then expect me to pay for the privilege." Her eyes narrowed. "Wow. So now I'm some gold digger, huh?" "I never said that," I replied. "But you can't deny that you've built this whole relationship around what I can do for you. Not with me, for you." She stood up abruptly, arms crossed. "You could have just talked to me." "I did. Over and over. You just kept saying I was too sensitive." She was quiet for a long moment. Then, soft and bitter. "So what now? You want to ruin the whole trip?" I shrugged. "I think it was already ruined. I'm just done paying to pretend it's not." Later that night, while everyone else was out grabbing drinks in town, Kayla stayed behind. I could feel the shift. The tension. She wasn't angry anymore. Not really. She was calculating. I was on the couch when she sat next to me, her voice low and sweet like it used to be. "I messed up," she said. "I got carried away. I just wanted this weekend to be perfect. For everyone to see how lucky I am." I turned to her. "Lucky how?" She paused, then smiled softly. "To have you." I wanted to believe her. God, I did. But that little voice in my head wouldn't shut up. The one that had been screaming for months. She leaned in and kissed me. Slow, gentle, like an apology wrapped in lips and breath. But here's the thing about apologies. They only matter if they come before the consequences. And hers was too late. The next morning, Kayla found out about the card. It happened while she was on the phone with Airbnb support. Her voice went from confused to sharp, then shrill. "What do you mean payment declined? It was already approved." She hung up and stormed into the living room. I was sipping coffee, calm as a monk. "Did you cancel your card?" she demanded. I nodded slowly. "Reported it lost. New one should arrive Monday." Her jaw dropped. "Are you serious right now? We're stuck in this house for 2 more nights, and you just, what, left us with a massive balance?" "No," I said. "I left you with it. Everything was booked for your friends. Your vision. Your idea of perfect. It's your bill now." Her mouth opened and closed like she couldn't decide if she wanted to scream or cry. Then finally, "You're unbelievable." "No," I said quietly. "I'm just finally done being used." She didn't speak to me the rest of the day, but I didn't mind the silence. It sounded a lot like peace. By the final morning of the trip, the atmosphere in that fancy coastal house had curdled into something sharp and sour. Everyone felt it. The girls had gone from casually dismissive to openly annoyed, whispering in corners like high schoolers, giving me side glances like I was the villain in a play they'd all agreed on behind my back. And maybe I was, to them, but I wasn't playing their part anymore. I cooked my own breakfast, took a walk down the beach, answered emails, the usual stuff I did to keep my life together. You know, the one they all got to enjoy for free. When I came back, Kayla was pacing the living room, her phone glued to her ear. She was trying to explain to her mom what had happened. No, I didn't know he canceled it. Yes, Mom, I know it was on his card. Because he offered to help. Her voice cracked. There it was, the moment she realized the show was over and the stage was collapsing. Her friends started packing early. Melanie had the nerve to complain about the lack of brunch options nearby, like that was the real tragedy of the weekend. Another girl asked if I'd be Venmo and G them for gas money. I just smiled and said, sure. Forward your invoices to Kayla. Silence. No one argued. No one looked me in the eye. Then came checkout. I watched Kayla pull out her own card. It was one of those flashy platinum ones, the kind she used for points and perks, but rarely for actual charges. Her hands shook just enough to notice as she keyed in her info at the Airbnb portal. Declined. The screen flashed. She tried again. Same result. I stepped up beside her. Need help? She glared. Don't. Eventually, she called her mom again, and I stood there, arms crossed, listening as she begged for a transfer. That made it real. Not just inconvenient, not just dramatic. Real. She ended the call and whispered, she'll cover it. But she says we're going to talk about this later. I nodded. I'm sure you will. On the drive back, no one spoke. No music, no small talk. Just the tires humming against the pavement and the occasional cough or sniffle to break the tension. I dropped everyone off one by one. Kayla was last. When we pulled into her apartment complex, she didn't move. Just sat there staring out the window like she didn't know where to go from here. I don't get it, she finally said. You've always taken care of me. Why now? Why like this? I didn't answer right away. I looked at her. Really looked. Not at the pretty face I used to lose myself in, but at the person behind it. Because I needed you to see it, I said. See what it felt like to be taken for granted. To be invisible unless you're handing over a card. She turned to me, her voice barely above a whisper. So that's it. We're done? No, I said. We were done a long time ago. I just finally caught up. She opened the door, got out slowly, and for a second, I thought she might turn and say something. One last plea, one apology, one admission of guilt. But she didn't. She just walked away, and I let her. I thought that would be the end of it. Thought she'd go quiet, disappear, maybe badmouth me to her friends, block me, then move on to the next guy dumb enough to finance her lifestyle. But Kayla didn't go quietly. 3 days after the trip, I started getting messages. First from mutual friends, then from numbers I didn't recognize. A few DMs from accounts that looked suspiciously new, all of them saying the same thing in slightly different words. I heard you abandoned her. You left her stranded without telling anyone? That's messed up. Bro, I used to respect you. Turns out, Kayla had gone full PR mode. She spun the story like a pro. I had promised to pay for everything, then bailed last minute as some kind of power move. That I was emotionally abusive, controlling, and tried to teach her a lesson by humiliating her in front of her friends. And she knew exactly how to deliver it. Kayla always had a way with words when the spotlight was on. Add a few tears and some selective storytelling. And suddenly I was a monster who weaponized money against the woman I claimed to love. At first, I wanted to fight it. I started typing out this long post with screenshots, receipts, timelines. I was ready to lay it all out, point by point, fact by fact. But halfway through I stopped. Because the people who knew me, they didn't need convincing. And the people who believed her, they were never on my side to begin with. So I stayed quiet and let her burn whatever bridges she needed to in order to feel like the victim. A week later, I got a call from someone I hadn't expected, Kayla's mom. I let it go to voicemail. Then another call. Then a text. Please call me back. It's about Kayla. It's serious. My stomach turned. I waited an hour before I called. I was expecting anger, threats, maybe guilt. What I got instead was something much worse. She got evicted, her mom said. She hadn't been paying rent. I didn't even know until the notice came. She thought you were going to move in and help. I said nothing. Just listened. She's staying with me for now, but, Brian, she's a mess. Not eating. Not talking. Keeps saying she didn't think you'd actually leave. That line stuck with me. She didn't think you'd actually leave. Because that was it, wasn't it? She thought I was permanent. Automatic. A default setting. The man who'd always be there. No matter how many times she humiliated him. No matter how deep she dug the knife. And now? She was left with the echo of her own actions. I told her mom I hoped she got the help she needed. Then I hung up. Later that night, I opened my laptop. Pulled up an old folder labeled trips. It was full of itineraries, screenshots, booking confirmations, years of plans I had made for us. Birthday weekends. Anniversaries. Just because getaways. One by one, I deleted them all. And for the first time in a long, long while, I slept like a man who owed nothing to no one. About 2 weeks after that last call, I ran into Melanie. Not planned. Not something I wanted. It was just one of those random collisions life throws at you when you're trying your best to move on. I was grabbing coffee before work, earbuds in, playlist rolling, when I heard someone say my name. Brian. I turned, and there she was. Same perfect makeup, same carefully curated casual look. Except now, there was something different in her eyes. Not sharpness. Not mockery. Just wariness. Hey, I said. No warmth, but no venom either. She hesitated. Can we talk for a second? I didn't want to. Every instinct in me said walk away. But I was curious. So I nodded. We stepped to the side of the coffee shop, near the window. I wanted to say something, she began. About what happened. I waited. Look, I didn't know everything. I mean, yeah, Kayla made jokes about you, but I thought it was just your dynamic. Like, harmless stuff. We all do it. I didn't know how bad it really was. I raised an eyebrow. Harmless stuff? Melanie, you once laughed when she said I was her sugar dad without the sugar. Her cheeks flushed. Yeah, okay. That was out of line. I see that now. Silence. She told us you abandoned her, Melanie added quietly. Said you left her with all the bills as payback. That you wanted to punish her. And you believed her. She looked ashamed. At first. But then she started unraveling. And we started putting pieces together. She left out a lot of details. I nodded. That's what she does. Leaves out the parts where she twists the knife. Melanie stared at her shoes. I think she really thought you'd never leave. That you'd just keep taking it. So did I said. Until I didn't. She glanced up. I'm sorry, Brian. For laughing. For going along with it. You deserve better. It wasn't a grand apology. But it was something. And part of me appreciated that. Thanks, I said. But I'm not the one who really needs to hear it. She won't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. That's her burden. Not mine. We stood in silence for a moment. Then I said, tell her I don't hate her. But I'm not coming back. Melanie nodded. I think she already knows. I walked out of the shop with my coffee, the door jingling shut behind me, and realized I didn't feel heavy. Not anymore. Not even when the past came walking up to say hello. That weight. It stayed with her. The strange thing about walking away is that it doesn't feel like a sprint. It feels like a slow thaw. Like realizing, day by day, you can breathe a little deeper. Your stomach isn't in knots when you get a text. Your voice doesn't tighten when someone mentions her name. That's where I was a month later. I had started going to the gym again, not to escape something, but because I wanted to. I picked up my guitar for the first time in a year. Reached out to people I'd distanced myself from without even noticing. I was getting back to myself. Slowly, piece by piece. Then Kayla texted. It was a Wednesday night. Simple. Deceptively harmless. Hey, can we talk? I stared at it for a while. And then, because closure isn't something you find, it's something you decide, I replied. Sure. Your place or mine? We met at a neutral spot, a quiet park we used to walk through when things were good. I sat on a bench under an old sycamore, and she showed up 5 minutes late, looking like she hadn't slept. No makeup. No performance. Hey, she said. I nodded. She sat down beside me, hands clenched together in her lap. I messed everything up, she said softly. I know that now. I didn't interrupt. I thought you were just there. Always. I thought I could push and tease and you'd take it. Because you always did. Because you loved me. I finally spoke. I did. She looked at me then. Really looked. Eyes red. Lip trembling. And I killed it. I didn't say yes. I didn't need to. I'm sorry, Brian. Not for the trip. Not for the money. For all of it. For forgetting you were a person. For treating you like a prop in my life instead of a partner. I nodded. Thank you for saying that. I miss you. There it was. The opening. But I didn't take it. I miss the idea of us, I said. But not what it became. She exhaled slowly. Is there any chance we could fix it? Start over? I looked at her. Not with anger. Not with resentment. Just with a clarity I hadn't had in a long time. Kayla, we can't build a new house on a foundation full of cracks. You'd never feel safe in it. And neither would I. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she didn't let them fall. I get it, she whispered. We sat there for a few minutes in silence. The wind rustling the trees, a dog barking in the distance, the world going on without us. When she finally stood up, she said, "You were the best thing that ever happened to me. I hope someday you believe that without needing to lose it first," I replied. She nodded, walked away, didn't look back. And for the first time in forever, I didn't want her to. They say the way you leave something defines how you remember it. For a long time, I remembered Kayla through the lens of effort. The nights I stayed up working to afford surprises. The days I rearranged to make her feel prioritized. The emotional acrobatics I performed just to keep the peace. But after that final conversation in the park, something shifted. I started remembering the silences. The way she'd ignore me after a joke fell flat. The way her eyes scanned the room for anyone more interesting the moment we arrived somewhere. The way she'd sigh when I didn't pick the right wine, or when I talked too long, or when I didn't dress the way she wanted. I remembered how it felt to become background noise. And somehow, that memory set me free. A few weeks later, I got a promotion. My boss said she noticed how I'd stepped up lately, how focused and sharp I seemed. I didn't tell her that focus came from no longer bleeding for someone who only saw me as a bandage. I booked a solo trip to Seattle. Just me, a backpack, and an old notebook I hadn't touched in years. I walked through Pike Place Market, drank coffee by the bay, sat in bookstores until they closed, wrote pages and pages without anyone looking over my shoulder. No performance, no audience, just me. And somewhere in that quiet, I forgave her. Not out loud, not in some dramatic text or long email, but silently, in the way you forgive a storm for being a storm. You don't have to invite it back. You just stop standing in the rain. I think Kayla will be okay. Eventually. Maybe this cracked the mirror she used to see herself in. Maybe not. That part isn't my story to tell. What is my story is this. I loved someone who didn't love me the same way. I gave more than I should have. I stayed longer than I should have. And I walked away slower than I should have. But I did walk away. And sometimes, that's the victory. The house is quieter now. The fridge stays full longer. My bank account isn't bleeding. But more than that, I don't wake up dreading my own reflection. And someday, if I love again, which I will, it'll be as someone who knows the value of his presence. Someone who doesn't barter his worth for attention. Someone who walks beside, not behind. The $8,000? That was the price of learning. And I'll never pay it twice.